The whispers of the Min Min. In the heart of the Australian outback, far from the hustle of Sydney and the sparkling lights of the city, two friends, Jack and Ryan, decided to take a break from their ordinary lives, the sort of life where you get caught in the grind, lose track of time, and wonder if there's more to living than just the endless chase for something. Jack was a man of few words, with a thoughtful, often melancholic demeanor. Ryan, on the other hand, was the kind of person who found adventure in everything, from hopping on a bus to nowhere to exploring the most obscure corners of the country. When Ryan suggested a trip through Queensland's remote outback, Jack hesitated for only a moment. The road ahead promised no rush, no agenda. Just two friends, the wild and their thoughts. Their first few days were spent driving through the open road, where silence was more a companion than an inconvenience. They talked about everything and nothing: life, regrets, dreams, and the oddities of people who, despite their best efforts, seemed forever out of sync with the world. The vastness of the outback, red dirt stretching into eternity, reminded them of how small they were, how unimportant. Yet at the same time, it was the kind of freedom that gave them room to breathe, to be who they were without pretense. One evening, after they had set up camp under the cool sky, the stars gleaming like scattered diamonds, Ryan noticed something odd. "Jack, look over there." Ryan's voice was soft, barely above a whisper. Jack looked up from his book, frowning as he tried to make sense of what Ryan was pointing to. There, in the distance, just above the horizon, was a soft, flickering light. It wasn't like a campfire, and it wasn't like a star. It hovered gently, almost as if it was calling to them. A campfire, maybe? Could be someone out here, Jack suggested, though the words didn't convince him. Ryan wasn't so sure. "I've heard of these things, Min Min lights. They're supposed to be mysterious, even dangerous." Jack gave a small, knowing smile. "You're telling me ghost stories, mate?" Ryan was quieter now. "I'm just saying, people say the lights lead you astray, make you follow them until you're lost, and then..." He trailed off. Jack shook his head. "You've been reading too many books." But there was an unease in his voice, too. Something he couldn't shake. Still, curiosity got the better of them. They packed up their things, grabbed a flashlight, and decided to drive toward the light. The van bumped along the uneven dirt road, and despite their adventurous spirit, there was an undercurrent of tension in the air. Jack kept his eyes on the road ahead, while Ryan sat quietly, lost in thought. The light grew brighter as they got closer, but oddly it didn't seem to move away from them like they had expected. Instead, it hovered just ahead of them, as if it was guiding them deeper into the wilderness. "Maybe it's nothing," Jack said, trying to sound reassuring, but even he could sense something wasn't quite right. "Maybe," Ryan replied, his voice betraying a hint of doubt. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the light led them to a small, dilapidated house. More of a shack, really, sitting alone in the vast, empty desert. It seemed as though it had been abandoned for decades, the wood weathered by time and neglect. Yet the light hovered above it, casting a faint, ethereal glow. "Is this it?" Jack said, his voice tinged with skepticism. Ryan stepped out of the van, his eyes scanning the surroundings. "Something feels wrong, Jack. This doesn't feel right." But Jack, driven by a strange force he couldn't explain, walked toward the shack. He pushed open the creaking door, the wood groaning in protest, as though it hadn't been disturbed in years. Inside, the air was musty, and the furniture, once worn and comfortable, was now covered in dust. The house had a feeling of abandonment, yet it was strangely familiar. In the far corner, sitting on a dusty shelf, was an old photograph, its edges frayed and yellowed with age. Ryan picked it up, wiping it clean. "Jack, look at this," he said, handing it to his friend. Jack's hand trembled as he took the photograph. The people in the picture were a family, an elderly couple, a middle-aged man, and a young woman, smiling in a way that seemed to suggest a life once full of warmth and togetherness. Jack's heart skipped a beat. The young woman in the photograph looked exactly like his late sister, Emma. He couldn't breathe for a moment. The shock of recognition was like a cold wave washing over him. "I don't understand," Jack whispered, his voice thick with disbelief. "This can't be real." Ryan's eyes widened in confusion. "What's going on, Jack?" Before Jack could answer, a soft voice spoke from behind them. "I've been waiting for you." Both men spun around, their hearts pounding in their chests. There, standing in the doorway, was the woman from the photograph, but she was no longer a picture frozen in time. She was alive, standing there in the same old simple dress, her eyes filled with longing and sorrow. Jack couldn't move, his voice caught in his throat. "Emma?" The woman nodded, a gentle smile tugging at her lips. "It's me, Jack." Ryan stepped back, his face pale, unsure whether he was dreaming or in the midst of something far more profound. "Emma, how is this possible?" Jack stammered, his eyes filled with confusion, relief, and a deep ache he couldn't describe. Emma stepped closer, her presence both calming and unnerving. "You've been carrying so much weight, Jack. So many things unsaid, so much regret. These lights, they're a way for those who have passed to reach those still here, to help them understand." Jack's throat tightened. I never got to say goodbye. I never got to tell you how much I loved you." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes, and she placed a hand gently on his cheek. "I know, Jack, I know. But I've forgiven you, just as you must forgive yourself. You've been holding on to me too long. It's time to let go." Jack collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed by grief and the weight of everything unsaid. "I don't know how to let go," he whispered. Emma knelt beside him, her voice soft and reassuring. "You've already done it, Jack. By letting me go, you're setting both of us free." As dawn began to break over the horizon, Emma's figure slowly began to fade, the soft Min Min light flickering one last time before it disappeared into the sky. Ryan helped Jack to his feet, and without a word, they left the shack. The van started up as if nothing had happened, the engine running smoothly as though time itself had reset. The outback stretched out before them, vast and silent. The Min Min light had vanished, but for Jack, a sense of peace had replaced the turmoil he had carried with him for so long. As they drove through the quiet wilderness, Jack finally felt the weight of the past lift. He had said goodbye, not with words, but with his heart. And in that moment, he understood. Love never truly fades, and those we lose are never far from us.